At some point or another, you have probably hated your metronome. Whether the click was hard to hear or just really hard to stay with, you would probably prefer an easier way to do time practice on the drums. Hey, that's exactly what we're going to discover today. I also have some free bonus material for you to download in the description below so that you can test out this technique we're going to talk about yourself. So let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I was working with a student one time in a lesson and we had this groove going and I had him playing it along with the metronome, and it was a struggle because a lot of times it would start to rush and we'd say, okay, the groove's rushing a little bit, so try to relax, back off a little bit, just let it settle into the tempo, and so the next round through, well, then it would drag. And I'd say, well, be careful, don't let it drag because that time you're going just a little too slow. The next time, well, then it starts to rush again, and so it kind of becomes like a car weaving back and forth across the road, never really staying in the lane. And I think that's something a lot of people, a lot of drummers can relate to, where you feel like you're just chasing the click no matter what you're doing. The thing is, I know of other musicians who are more in the professional world and in the gigging world who have that same struggle, where if they have the click too hot in their in-ears as they're playing, that actually makes it harder for them to stay with it, and so they have to turn it down a little bit so they're feeling more of the music around them and hearing the drums more and hearing the bass more and feeling that, rather than hearing the click sound and trying to stay with it the whole time. This whole thing got me thinking, what if there was a better way to practice time than to strictly practice to a metronome? Sure, you can practice along to recordings. There are a lot of great recordings out there that were recorded to a click, and those are great, but they're only so customizable because those are at, a certain tempo, and so you've got to find a lot of songs if you're going to find a lot of different tempos. So what I decided to do for this video and for this student and for other students and for myself, just to have more fun practicing, I created all these random percussion loops at different tempos. Now, of course, in practicing to percussion loops like this, there are some pros and cons. Now, a big con is that, well, the time isn't strictly dictated to you. You're not being hammered a time, which can be good and bad, but it can make it a little bit harder to really stay with it. And so you do have to listen more carefully, which is actually the pro of this. Practicing along to these percussion loops really teaches you to listen so that you're hearing the different parts going on in the loop. And so it kind of gives you that same mental exercise of playing with musicians in a band where you're listening to different parts going on and you're making sure you're staying locked with them at all times. So I'll jump over to the kit and play through some of these just so you can hear what I'm talking about. Hey, so here's something really cool. We can actually take this to the next level with this other type of loop that I also really like practicing to. Check this out. those first two loops there are really what I would call a harmonic or a melodic loop, where there's not really a rhythm specifically dictated to you. There's no percussion, no drums, just a piano or a keys thing, which makes it harder to play with, but it also makes it a lot more fun and a lot more rewarding and really good time practicing where you can test your time. So maybe you could practice to the percussion ones first and then practice to those. And of course I had to throw in that dubstep drum one because that was another loop I had really fun. I had a lot of fun making that one too, and it's really fun to play along with. But here's the thing, you can practice to those, have a lot of fun doing it, that's great, but you can create your own loops also. Whether or not you've got a shaker or some other random item, or like kitchen pots and pans, or just some brushes on your drums, something different that doesn't sound like playing a beat on the drums, record those, even if it's just on your phone. Listen to a metronome in your ear, record onto your phone you playing that, and play it for 3 minutes or whatever, and then listen back to that and play drums along to it. You'll find that it's way more interesting than just playing to a click constantly. So most importantly, get creative, have fun with this, improve your time without driving yourself crazy trying to lock into a click if you don't enjoy practicing to a click. So guys, I hope this video helped you out and provided you with some really valuable tools to use in your practicing to improve your time in a more interesting, creative way. Be sure to download all those loops via the link below before you go. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe also before you go. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week.